Oh, hey there. Welcome to SharkCast Pod, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. They play out of the greatest place in the history of the world, the Shark Stadium. And this is SharkCast Pod. My name is Sam Shinazzi, OG 2015, 11 seasons of podcasting. And the reason we get to do it is because of legends like Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. And also, people always just give me accolade after accolade, and then other people sort of like go, boo, you suck. It's not just me. There are lots of people helping me do this, and one gentleman is on the other end of this podcast. His name is Dan Nichols. Get it out, Shinaz. Dan Nichols, and he's a legend amongst a lot of people. He also gets boos sometimes as well, but gets a lot of the yays. This is really unscripted. Dan Nichols from Rugby League Outlaws, of course, most importantly to us, Fins Up, and he also writes for Zero Tackle, a bunch of other stuff going on in Dan's world. Dan, how are you? Help me out of this mess.
Mate, I'm doing tremendous, thank you. More boos than yays, but you got to focus on the good, mate. Much like with the Sharks. But thanks for the late call-up. I'm sitting here. I've just talked Sharks, and I'm going to talk Sharks again. And I know where I'd rather be, mate. How are you doing more importantly?
I'm good, man. Another year of Vikings hope in my heart with a new quarterback. So what could possibly go wrong? But we're here to talk about the Sharks. Late call up because it's late at night when we do this. And Sharks coming off a bye, and before that, a whomping 54-22 win over the Titans. Dan, I know you've dissected this yourself over several platforms. Let's go through it a little bit before we get into a whole bunch of other stuff. Pretty comprehensive win. I'm going to go straight to the end because a lot of people had a problem with the end. How were you with the conceding of a couple of tries, mostly from turnovers and that kind of thing? Do you understand how this works? Were you disgusted? Somewhere in between? What were your thoughts?
You're never happy to concede tries. You want to play for 80 minutes. But if you are going to concede 2 garbage time tries, it's best when you've scored 50-something points. So, look, at the time, I was annoyed. And as soon as full-time hit, I didn't care anymore because of the preceding 69 minutes minus that 3-minute spot. I had a bigger problem with that couple of minutes where they went back-to-back and Bo Fermor ran away from our supposed speedster winger, and then we let him go up and score in something that everyone in the world except the Sharks saw coming. So overall, very, very impressed. You're not going to get many complaints out of a result that comprehensive, especially heading into the bye. I do think their mind went to the bye 7 or 8 minutes too early, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's understandable, I guess. I like how you've already got a shot in for Stone Street over Katoa. I like also how you've left out the fact that the halfback shot out of the line to create the try. But hey, that's a whole other story, I guess. Now, I thought pretty good game. Speaking of the halfback, I thought he was electric. Nico Hines. I thought his little mate Trindle had one of his best games in Sharks colours. Great kicking game. It was obviously planned. Kick to not so much the corners, but the sides of the field, and really try and get the errors and the tackle turnovers happening, which they did. I thought that was fantastic. And man of the hour, man of the moment, Mawini Hiroti, close to man of the match, if not man of the match. He ran for over 200 meters. He set up 2 tries, and just electric from Hiroti. You've been watching him for a long time, like many of us. Are you surprised at where he's at now? Did you see it coming? I mean, what's your thoughts on Mawini at the moment?
Oh, I'm not going to lie to you. No, I didn't. In saying that, his performances for Newtown have been worldly. Like there was a couple of games ago, he had a double, 300 run meters, and assist. Like he's too good for New South Wales Cup. He was never a player that I thought demanded selection in the Sharks. But if you told me Jesse Ramien's fit this weekend, I'm running with Hiroti, which I think is probably the biggest compliment you can give the bloke. He's earned the supposed extension he's going to get or has got. I haven't kept up as much as I should, sorry. But, mate, that was his best game in first grade. It might be the best I've seen him, and that's saying something because a couple of weeks, I can't remember which game it was, but he tried, I'm pretty sure it was the Dragons at Food Beer Footy Festival. I butchered that, but at Henson Park in front of genuinely 9,000 plus people, he was just tremendous. So, like, I was so happy to see him named this weekend. And if you'd said that to me 12 weeks ago, I'm probably questioning your sanity. And I think he's deserved every bit of it. That try set up, the one where he beat 4 players, just put the kick up. Oh, Football, rugby league, as they say, Sam.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones where, like, I know the coach gets a lot of ridicule, mostly from yourself, about not watching lower grades, but he's very much aware of what's going on in lower grades. And I think it's an example of the staff going, you know what? We have 2 or 3 speedsters, kids, rookies who will be stars in 3 or 4 years' time, but we've got this other guy who's actually lighting up the cup, and you know who he is. It's Mawini Harati, and everyone's like, what? And it's like, yeah, no, look at this tape, look at this. And I think, it was one of those times in our club in recent times, one of the few times where someone has pushed from the lower grade all the way through to go, I'm your guy. Forget about the young fellas. I'm the year-to-year guy, the unfashionable guy, the guy that walks through the gates and no one knows who he is, like it happened before this game. It was hilarious. I walked in with him. No one was going near him. It's like, Mawini Harati, have a great game, brother. So really well deserved. And yeah, as you said, super happy for him. Very close to man of the match, if not performance, and probably will seal him another year at least. They might go more, who knows? But I didn't think we had any bad players out there. Just looking at the rundown here and the stats, and great to see Big Tuku out there. And he played 15 minutes. He bagged the try, ran for almost 100 meters. Do you think Tuku has any chance here moving forward this year of busting into that 17, or is it more he's next man up in case there's an injury or suspension, etc.?
I think he would have been named this weekend over Hohepapura if he was. I think he's next man up. I think you got to pick 2 to need. Like, I'm a unabashed Hohepapura fan. I think he adds something that none of the other forwards we have offer. But if you're playing in Melbourne, and you got Nelson and King and these other giants, and you need a 6 foot something, Hoepa can't do that physically. Tukes can. When he came on and dropped that ball, I wouldn't have been surprised if they'd hooked him straight away and said, yeah, good effort. But the way he came back from that and just skittled their forwards, to be totally honest, and that's the one thing the Titans do have is good forwards. I thought it was huge. I thought the 100 meters, the try was brilliant. That's the old Royce Hunt game. Yep. The 7 and 18 minutes, bang, 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 skittles blokes and puts his feet up and has a lemonade. Very, very impressive they're going to use him like that.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there is a hope there moving forward, not necessarily this year, but moving on some guys in the next year or two, he may just get that tap on the shoulder because he's got it in him. We obviously just need to see it week to week, but that was a really good improvement from him. One of the big headlines, of course, was Cam McInnes, very seriously injured. I was going to use the word tragic, but that's a bit too far, but very seriously injured and out until probably next May. We're all feeling for the guy. It does offer opportunities. Jesse Colquhoun's been named there. We'll talk about him a little bit later on. But what do you think, aside from, there are some, I'm not going to use the word positives, but some good things will come out of this. Tell me about the negative things. What are we going to miss from Cam McInnes, do you think, especially leading into the finals and the finals?
Well, leadership is one of the main. I mean, I'm a 1-over fan of Blake Bradley, and I think he was the obvious choice, and probably more on that later. I went to Steve Thunder. But this is the bloke who's captaining, I think, his first game. So pretty sure Nico had the reins where the Cam was out in the past, or Finucane was out before that. So that's not ideal. I mean, he's got plenty of games. He's got football smarts. He's, one of the 3 or 4 best hookers in the game right now. But he's got to go out there and captain. That's not ideal, but I like it. I think it was the best choice. I put an argument forward for Teague Wilton, but he's younger and less experienced, so you can't do that. You got to go with Bradley. That's the big one. A couple times over the last month or two, Cronulla had conceded that weak try, and you go under the post, and McInnes is just laying down the law. And it's not Cam's not the kind of guy that's going to rip your ears off and smack you around and stuff. But he's the kind of bloke that'll be like, it's more disappointment than anger. And that's worse. Like, you don't want to let him down. So I feel that is the bloke makes 40, 50 tackles a game. You can't. I think Colquhoun's more of a clever player. I think his ball playing is better. That's not Cam's role. I think you're going to have to, Talakai's going to have to stand up, put it that way. If he doesn't take the Cam hit ups early and late, I think we're in not trouble, but it's a definite downer. But, mate, it's just, if I'm in the line and you turn, I want Cam McInnes beside me.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not his biggest fan. I don't mean that as a shot, but I'm like, I didn't want him re-signed past next year. So I think Colquhoun's the way forward. But in this final series, if I look left, I want Ken McInnes there. So it sucks. If anyone's ever going to come back before he should, it's this guy, because he's an animal and he will want to start rehab 2 months before he should.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried. I think we'll see him again. But you got to find the positives, and that is Jess Colquhoun's going to have 12, 15 games under his belt by the time Cam comes back, if everything goes well.
Yeah, I think from a playing point of view, Colquhoun brings something different. He brings the meters. So he's very much in your Paul Gallen mold without putting too much pressure on the kid. In the sense that he can ball play, and Gallen could kind of ball play, but Gallen was there almost as the third prop. And I think Colquhoun will be a mixture between Cam and a Gallen type person where he's going forward. But we've seen already, he's got the silky hands as well. And I'm interested to see how he goes defensively. He's a really good defender. He's a tough kid. He's fit. He's agile now. Now he's got all these games under his belt. So no dramas there, but I want to see it, which is going to be fascinating. And as a bit of cross promo, we interviewed him earlier today. You can go have a look and listen. Sorry, not a look. You can have a listen to that on all your podcast feeds. And he's pretty amped. He's pretty pumped. Like, he's not going to take a backward step. So that was really impressive to me, talking to him about his role. So yeah, it's not end of world stuff. It's more just, as you say, someone's going to need to really take every attribute that McInnes brings, and they have to split it up. Not one person's going to be able to provide it. They've got to split it up. So maybe Talakai's doing the hit ups. Maybe Colquhoun's doing the ball distribution and the tackles. And maybe Brayley's doing the leadership stuff, or Nico, or someone, Teague even. They all are going to have to rise and step up. And I think they will. I think they'll realize that. They'll talk about that. They're pretty open with their communication as a group. But yeah, major bummer, man. Like, there's something about McInnes. It's like what you just said. You know, if you're out there, you want to be standing next to him. Yeah. I wouldn't say he's my favorite player either, but I truly respect the guy. And out of all the 17 guys that played last week, it was like, oh, why has it got to be you? You're off contract next year. The whole hoopla about keeping him. Now it's all added to it. So, but you're right. He's going to come back bigger, better. I don't know about how he'll go with the knees, but you know his time's not up, whether it's with us or someone across the country or across the world. Like, he's still got some good footy in him, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I just realized that we're actually recording this. Earlier, I was doing two things at once. Sorry to anyone that saw me on my phone. I was formatting a show that I just finished. The Knock On podcast, which you can catch on Zero Tackles YouTube. So there's the plug. But mate, 100% agreed. There's nothing good to come of this. You just got to find the positives. And from what I heard, from what you sent me, Colquhoun's ready to go. And that gets me a little bit excited, I have to admit.
Yeah, for sure. Anyone else you want to wrap from the Titans game? I know it was a couple of weeks ago now, but anyone else grab your attention?
Yeah, Ronaldo Mulatalo, he started terribly. He just lost the ball out of nowhere, and I thought, here we go. And then he scored 2 tries. But what I liked the most was when Tuke shot the ball, the group should have scored that try. And Ronaldo said no and launched him in to like row 3 and then got up and chirped. And I thought, all right, here we go. And yeah, I love when Ronaldo's in that mood. I am a huge Ronaldo fan. I make excuses for him. I love when he chirps. I'm a sucker for that. He's a showman. I just love it. I thought to come back from that early era to do what he did, that's the Ronaldo when he coming in the finals. I thought he was spectacular.
Oh, look, he's not short of confidence, and that's the understatement of the lifetime. But if anything, it spurs him on. It drives him. He's the sort of guy that you want, because he's the sort of guy that goes, I've kind of made an error. I've let everyone down. I'm going to make it up. Whereas other guys will go into their shell or whatever. He's the one guy that you can rely on to bounce back. So we saw it. And I think he's going tremendously. I think he almost in NRL terms is under the radar. I think people just sort of see him being a bit lippy. He can score some tries, but man, he does some good work for a winger. Like, he's got to be, and we won't have the discussion now, but he's got to be one of the best wingers we've had in our history. and we've had some good ones.
Yes.
All
There's
right,
plenty of-
so Sharkies had the bye, the week off. As far as we know, got through trouble-free, and we come into this round in 6th place. 13 wins, 9 losses, the 3 byes, 32 points, plus 67, and we need to build on that moving forward. So without causing too many headaches, Dan, let's talk about the next 2 weeks. We got the Knights and we got the Bulldogs.
Yep.
What's making all this more complex is, I guess, the other teams, to be honest. It's not even an us thing. It's like, well, we need to win both games. That'd be awesome. And I think that, without jinxing it, I think we can almost chalk up one. And I only say that knowing that my team's going to turn up with their head screwed on and they're just going to be far too good for this other team, right? I'm not going to say whether it's a 1-point win like last year or it's a 100-point win, somewhere in between probably. But I feel like we're going to win, okay? And I'm not being cocky. I'm not being arrogant. I just think we're going to win, right? Ask me if we're going to win or lose. We're going to win. Go the next week to Homebush. We play the Dogs. Now, that's a tougher situation. They're a really good team. They're in good form, more or less. Went down to Melbourne last week, almost won. Had a great year, historic year for them.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a bumper crowd. Where it gets a bit cloudy is we don't know what they're going to be playing for, which is fine. They might be playing for 3rd. They might be playing for 4th. They might be battling to be in the top 4. We're not sure. However, we do know Penrith have named one player from last week to play them this week in the blockbuster clash everyone's been waiting for.
Yep.
So that's a whole other can of worms. But we're going to assume Canterbury wins that game. It may not be easy. Penrith B team's still pretty good. But we'll assume, just for the argument, they're going to win the game. That takes them to 38 points. And we can't reach them with for and against. We can reach them. We can get to 36 points. So if they win this week, they're in the top 4. Is that right? They come 3rd no matter what.
Yep.
I think that's right.
Yep.
The Warriors have to do a bit to catch up to them. We can't catch them, in other words. That's my long-winded point. So then we go, okay, well, we're fighting for 4th because the Warriors and Broncos are there.
Yep.
Brisbane this week play the Cowboys away. Now, the Cowboys last week had a great win, and they're a flip of the coin. Let's face it. They are up there. They must be some chance. Brisbane, having said that, were pretty good last week. The Warriors play the Eels at home.
Mm-hmm.
Eels are going pretty good, but you'd think maybe the Warriors win that. The last week, the Warriors play at Brookie in probably DCE's last game.
Mm-hmm.
I like Manly there.
Yes.
Brisbane play Melbourne at Suncorp, but Melbourne do rest players. We know this. They may not rest the entire team like Penrith do, but they'll rest some players. So maybe Brisbane wins that. So we need the Cows to win, and we need Manly to win the last game against the Warriors. However, we do need to win both of our games, but we don't know who we're going to play against Canterbury. And again, yes, I'm assuming we beat Newcastle. I'm assuming that. So the Canterbury game becomes the one that we always feared.
Mm-hmm.
But surely they're resting players if they're in the top, if they're 3rd where they want to be. Surely.
Yes. This is the most ridiculous finish I can remember. If this and this happened, I think Melbourne wipe the Roosters off the park this weekend and rest all their players next weekend. They don't need a 25th minor premiership. Canberra will win the minor premiership. Melbourne finish 2nd. The Bulldogs will beat the New South Wales Cup Panthers this weekend. Rest players against us. They're 3rd. So I think, full disclosure, I think the Broncos win the next 2 games. They finish 4th.
Ooh.
Cronulla can finish 5th. They can finish 6th. Doesn't really matter which you're going to host the team. Now, Penrith have dropped 16 players, right? Or rested 16 players. That, to me, I feel a little bit disrespected here because I'm convinced Penrith want Cronulla at Shark Park.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard arguments against it. You can't talk me out of it. If all the results go the way they should, Penrith will bring some players back next week and win, and they will come to Shark Park in week 1, which I think Ivan Cleary's licking his lips about. That should offend Sharks fans.
They would prefer that to going to Suncorp for a number of different reasons. So I think you're correct there.
100%.
Where else could they go? Warriors, they don't want to go there. So, but I'm following what you're saying. It's not just about location. It's about a whole bunch of things.
Absolutely.
Oh, well, let's just go off track a little bit. Do you think that they should be allowed to be able to rest 16 players?
So Terry and I had a bit of an argument on the knock on. The short answer is yes, but I do feel like there's some real problems here. If they'd rested 5, who cares? It's not a story. They rest 5 this week, they rest 7 next week, it doesn't matter. 16 feels disrespectful. The Bulldogs can turn around and say, well, thank you, but we're going to take that as a shot. The fans can say, oh, we paid $40 to go sit in the seats. What's going on? Now, Ivan Cleary, as Terry correctly pointed out, doesn't need to care about these people at all. He's only got to look after his fans, his team. What I have the problem with is that Channel 9 are paying how much money for this game, and they're going to get a dud. It doesn't matter, but the betting companies are not going to see a big turnover on this game because the Penrith are paying like $7. This was a game that at full flight, this would have been heavily wagered. And again, it doesn't matter, except it really, really does because they're pumping millions upon millions of dollars into the NRL. I don't think you're going to see this again. They might do it next week, is my worry. They're going to rest them 2 weeks in a row. But after this, I think you're going to see the NRL come in and say, that can't happen again. So yes is the short answer, but I don't like it.
Now, I've got approximately, we're not going to get into personal details here. I've got 5 to 10 on you, I think. I want to ask our older listeners to get in touch with me and let me know if this happened in the mid-'80s. I started watching seriously in the late 80s, and I don't recall this kind of behavior. You might rest one guy, maybe. But I remember blockbusters going into the finals. I remember the big clashes. It's like, well, in 3 weeks, we're going to get you again. And, I'm a bit like both of you that there are pros and cons completely. Like it's genius from him if it all pays off. But if I'm the NRL and if I'm a stakeholder, it's like, what the hell are you guys doing? We didn't pay to watch his reserve grade team. So can of worms. And I think it'd be interesting to watch what happens with those can of worms. It's also pretty ballsy him going, you know what? We can't make the top 4, but we're going to win it from 6th and we're going to start with the Sharks week 1. Like it's pretty ballsy.
It is. Now, of course, if they come out and beat the Bulldogs this weekend, it's the greatest move of all time. Can't see it happening, but Penrith B teams have beaten teams before.
Yeah.
For them to get to the grand final, they're going to have to go through either Cronulla or Brisbane, most likely, then go probably to Auckland. They're going to have to go through either Melbourne or Canberra.
Possibly Canterbury again.
Yeah, and the Bulldogs are going to be uppity in the finals. They're going to have 70,000 people there. Like, if they're going to do this, and my greatest fear is that they can do this, put it this way, if they finish 7th to go through Cronulla, New Zealand, Melbourne, and win a grand final, just shut the competition down because, my God, we've got no hope.
Yeah, it might be the end for me too, I've got to admit. But anyway, we'll see what happens there. But my long-winded point was there's lots of things that can happen with us in the next 2 weeks. I've seen things where we can finish as high as 3rd. So, but again, the Penrith Canterbury thing kind of puts that out the window. If you think Canterbury's going to win, which if they don't, well, then we've got to start questioning what they're doing. But interesting times. It's fascinating. Where do you want to finish? Who do you want to play week 1? Where do you want to do it? Give me some of that.
I was going to ask you whether you want to finish 4th or whether you want to finish 5th. The rugby league fan in me wants us to finish 5th or 6th just because of the way people react when we host finals. I find that extremely funny and very satisfying. Yeah. Of course, you want to finish 4th. If you offered me 4th, we go to Melbourne. I don't care what happens in week 1. In week 2, we host much as we did last week. I think we beat whoever bounces, and then we get a prelim in Canberra, and I like our chances. The ideal is if somehow we can play New Zealand in week 1, Bulldogs week 2, Canberra week 3. That's the way I see us getting through to the grand final. I don't even know if that's possible. I can't remember. It switches halfway through.
Yeah.
As long as we don't go through Melbourne, I'm confident we can beat anyone because Melbourne will be in Melbourne, obviously.
Yeah.
Canberra we should have beaten. The Dogs, they blew us off the park, but they're not the same team. The Warriors, I think we can beat. The Broncos worry me. If we play Brisbane in Brisbane, I don't want to do that. But we should have beaten them up there a couple of weeks ago when you and I called it live. So as long as we avoid Melbourne in a sudden death match, that's the ideal. I mean, who knows? We could Penrith might wipe us off the park. Who knows? But if you offered it to me, let's go through Canberra, please. That'd be nice.
Yeah, I agree. I want to finish 4th for all sorts of different reasons. I do like what you're saying, though, about the spite. I'm with you. I like we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I like the spiteful home final. And I've said a million times, if Mason, Dino, and the Brayleys and everyone else says, hey, Shinazzi, we're heading to Allianz, I'm the first one on the bus. Let's go. You won't hear a peep out of me. But the fact that it's probably going to be down here, hilarious. Hilarity. Can't wait for it. I'm ready. I've been prepared. I'm ready to go. And there are a number of people in mind who I hope are there too. And I would love to have some words with them, and we'll see how that pans out. So a long way to go, even though it's 2 weeks away. Like, it's hilarious. As you said, it's one of the crazier finishes we can remember. We tend to say this most years, but this is actually factual. I'm looking at the ladder, looking at the draw going, well, a whole bunch of things can happen. And the fact that Penrith are just screwing with everyone after the whole Trainergate thing, like they really don't care. And there's 5% of me that respects them. 95% of me kind of dislikes them. But the 5% is kind of like, you know what? Yeah, if that was my team, I'd be pretty happy and I'd be pretty proud. So the Clearys. Wow. Now, speaking of good coaches, Josh Hannay has got a gig at the Gold Coast Titans. We hinted that would be the case a little while ago because he didn't have a great ending at the Cowboys. Everyone had him going back to the Cowboys. We were like, no, it's going to be Titans. It is. We're happy for him. He's a good fella. And let me ask you first, what sort of a coach do you think he'll be? I know it's a hard question given that we don't know what the future holds, but what do you think about Josh Hannay? How's he going to go next year with the Titans?
Well, he's going to have the respect of the playing group. Don't forget, this is a bloke who sat beside Queensland coaches for many years and overseen some famous victories. Josh Hannay, the player, people laugh, Guy Me Gorillas, etc. Before he came to Cronulla, he was an Origin level centre and highly respected. And when we signed for Cronulla, I was like, pretty sweet pickup, to be honest. But it didn't work out. But the fact that he stuck around the club, he oversaw some pretty difficult months there between Morris and Fitzgibbon. You got to respect that. I'm not happy to hear him go. I do want a change in the assistant ranks because I feel like we need some fresh blood. He wasn't the one I wanted to go, full disclosure. But I think it's good for him. I think the Titans are massively under where they should be. I think they've got some supreme talent that Des Hasler just flat chat doesn't know how to use. I think David Fafita is only leaving because of Des Hasler. I think Tino was pushing because of what's going on. I think it's a great move for everyone involved. I just hope that if they go bad next year, they don't start talking about flicking Hannay because he needs 2-3 years to turn this around. I'm excited for him. I think he'll be a good first grade coach, mate. I'm upset to lose him, but I'm happy to see him get a gig, to be honest. I know that's very on the fence, but I think he's a good appointment.
Just on the Guy Me Gorillas affair, and for our younger listeners, basically what happened was Hannay played 1, 2, 3, 4. He played like almost 10 seasons at the Cowboys, a lot of Origin, and was a first grade regular. Like, he was a really, really good player. He came to the Cowboys. So he came from the Cowboys to the Sharks in 2007 under Ricky Stewart. He only got 3 games, dude. And then he was punted. So let's not and I'm not saying you are, but let's just generally not say that he stunk up the place. How bad could you have been in 3 games? Like, he didn't get much of a chance. And I'm not suggesting he was lights out in those 3 games, but a guy of that class, you don't lose it in 3 games. But the coach at the time, Ricky Stewart, went, hey, you're going to be a guy, I'm a gorilla. As you said, he got on with the job, which earned everyone's respect. And ironically came back to coach us 10 years later. So, yeah, interesting. Happy for him. I don't know Josh well, but he's always very polite when I'm around, hanging around like a bad smell like I do. And the players and the coaches really respect him. And obviously he's coached at the highest level in that capacity as assistant. Now he gets his main go. It's going to be cool to watch Sharks Titans game next year, knowing that he knows all about trade secrets. On to assistant coaches, though. Anyone you would like to pick up that comes to mind? I've already seen one which made me giggle a bit tonight, and that was Adam O'Brien. And let's not rule it out because Fitzy has worked with him, I believe. But anyone that comes to mind, have you thought about anyone or the style that you'd like?
Look, I want an experienced coach. Like Garth Brennan comes to mind. I don't know what he's doing now. There's a couple of people in England that you can get, but getting them across to be an assistant, and Fitzgibbon likelihood isn't going anywhere in the next few years. It's not like a caretaker. You'll be in 5 years. So you might be in a little bit of a difficult spot there. I don't want like a Daniel Holdsworth who's been around, or a Dalalana. I know he's doing well with the Flegg. I want some fresh blood. Like Trent Roberts. Who's the bloke at the Roosters assistant coach, the former Titan?
Holgate.
Justin Holbrook.
Holbrook, sorry.
He would have been the bloke that I would have chased really, really hard when he was sacked. I saw some people say Des Hazlitt. No, he's lost to the game. We don't need a dinosaur. And there's no disrespect to him. It's past him. I want a guy like that. I don't want like a Seabold. I think he's going to get sacked. No, I don't think Todd Baton's too long.
Yeah,
it's a tough one. But I mean, if you said pick one now, I'm going to Luke Lewis and Paul Gallen and saying who wants it. If they both say yes, I'm going with Lewis because Gallen's got his Channel 9 things. And I don't like the fact that our assistant coach for the NRLW is never at the games because she's calling. I know that's the deal, but I want a coach that's there all the time. So, yeah, Luke Lewis.
But would you sort of double-crossed yourself. You said you want the experienced coach, but then you're saying you want Luke Lewis.
I know, but I remember Luke Lewis halfway through my rant and thought, no, let's just get him in. I would say Steve Price, go. Thank you. I would get ideally Justin Holbrook, who's not going to leave the Roosters, and Luke Lewis. I think you need a club legend. You could go Gallen, but again, Channel 9 boxing, he's not going to be 100%. Do you go to Chris Hyington? I know he's a run in the water for the Tigers, but there's a few names there. But Luke Lewis for me, please, mate.
Okay. From what I'm gathering, there's a few guys that come to mind. I don't have the names, but there's a fella on the Warriors coaching staff that Fitzy might be friends with. There's the fella in England who he was coached by. I can't think of his name too, so no disrespect there. I don't know if he's going to go that way. Just names floating around. But you know, I mean, I did scoff at Adam O'Brien. I don't particularly want him there, but I mean, he has coached 200 games or whatever, and I don't think it'd really. I don't think mentally he'd be there at the moment. He's obviously very cooked.
Is Richard Agar one you're thinking of?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just checking. Paul actually mentioned these names, and I know the Warriors. He's just said the Warriors guy. Agar, when we dropped it in the group chat, was the Warriors guy was. So let's hope it's him. And I don't know these guys, full disclosure. That's just the feedback.
I mean, it's interesting. I wasn't thinking of necessarily that they would promote someone from within, but they very well might. I know you're saying don't, but they could. And maybe that's when you do bring in, what's that?
Is Dalalana still looking after the?
I believe so.
Yeah, well, they're fine. So if he were to come through, I wouldn't begrudge that.
Yeah, I think it'd be a fun situation for Fitzy. I know he doesn't want to let Hannay go. Like, they've worked really closely and he relies on him a lot, but it's a fun situation to have. Definitely not an open checkbook, but an open kind of slather of taking your pick. And I figure if you ask someone you want to come be assistant coach of the Sharks, it's not a bad gig to get. So we'll watch this space. I am one of those people, Dan, that believes it's not going to make that much of a difference, because unless you have, and hear me out before you laugh, do you remember the influence that Barrett had on the Panthers team? Was it Barrett I'm thinking of? No, Serraldo. The influence Serraldo had on the Panthers team when he was there as assistant coach, that was obviously significant. We heard about it. We saw it. Unless you have someone with that influence, and maybe they're out there, maybe we've spoken about them, I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference to how we go next year. You want someone good, you want someone reliable, but an assistant coach, I'm not talking down what they do. They work really hard. In a lot of cases, they work harder than the main guy. In so much as, I'll backtrack on that statement, in so much as the hours and the pay and the lack of respect from different parts of the world. But it does come down to Fitzy. Fitzy's the guy, he runs the show, and they help him run the show. So super important, but in my opinion, I don't think it changes going from third to first, for example. I could be wrong, and it could depend on who we get. But for example, I'm of the belief this year, if we finish fifth and get knocked out in the first week, it's got nothing to do with the assistant coaches. That's just my opinion.
No, you're right. It's funny you mentioned Serraldo, though. That's the kind of influence I'm hoping Luke Lewis has.
Yes.
But you're right. You're not going to bring, unless it's like you bringing in Wayne Bennett, let's say. Sure. Obviously, he's going to have a bigger say than what other assistants will. So, yeah, I very much agree with you there.
All right. Now, I don't want to give this too much of air, but we've given it already some air in the past couple of weeks. An article in a newspaper about Shark Stadium. I know you're aware of the first one that was written, which we talked about on air, and it was about the poor standards at Shark Stadium. And in my opinion, it was exaggerated quite a lot for dramatic effect and for sensationalism. And I'm really not a fan of that. The same chap has doubled down probably 2 weeks later, no more than 2 weeks later. Thankfully, the article hasn't gotten any steam at all. And it was essentially about Dino Mezzatesta's appearance on Fox's 360, where he was talking about government grants and that kind of stuff. And so the journalist pointed out that the Sharks actually were given an $8 million government grant. Don't quote me on the year, but in 2008 or something like that. And it was then up to the Sharks to match that $8 million, and then they would get the government's money and become $16 million. The Sharks didn't do that. They lost their government grant. And this guy decided to bring this up. And there is something else going on in this story. I'm not quite sure what it is, but we're harking back, Dan. This is why I get really annoyed, to the 2014 kind of vibes of your Hooper, Wilson, Masood trio. And for our older fans, they know what we're talking about there. It's harking back to this stuff, thankfully without the same effect. But it was the main reason why we started this podcast, was because of crap like that. Yeah. And I'm very annoyed. I don't want to give it too much air. But what is your opinion on, I know you haven't read the second article, but what's your opinion on that kind of sensationalism? You work in the media, you know all about the media, how it works. It can't just be one guy getting really annoyed at the stadium. There's something else driving it, in my opinion.
So my first reaction, and I replied to it when he said Shark Stadium's not good. I'm like, mate, we know. Like, everyone knows it's not a core stadium. It's not CommBank. Yeah. I've been very vocal. I don't like going there. I love seeing you and Terry and Josh, and not so much Kieran, but the rest of everyone. But I don't like going and having a drink and having to line up to use a Portaloo. But it's been like that for years. We know what it is. Him writing that said he went and couldn't get a beer. That's how I felt. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but I feel like he's had a bad day and he has a way to take it out. Now, I don't want to have a go at him because I've done that. I've had negative experiences at places and I've gone on zero tackle and I've written negatively about them. That's what you do. As someone who sees the clicks, positive and negative. A couple of months ago, I wrote the 10 best signings in NRL history and did about 12,000 views, which, is pretty darn good if I do toot my own horn. The 10 negative did 50,000 views. Same, linked once, posted at the same time, 24 hours apart. People love negative. People go back to negative to read replies and get negative in the replies. I know I wrote it without going into it because I don't know this guy. I don't read much of what he says. I had to check his Twitter. I've tweeted him twice in my life. It was crap. And it was a complete waste of time. I didn't see the second one. I know it's he probably got good traction from the first and thought, cool, I'll double down. But the second one was complete garbage because the Sharks were never getting $8 million. You might as well say, hey, Dan, you can date Avril Lavigne if you lose 20 kilos and get big muscles overnight. It's not going to happen. You don't need to print it. Garbage.
Yeah. So the only thing I'm going to dispute there is when you said, he probably had a bad experience and he wrote about it. You're talking about someone who is pretty high up in media corporate world. He's not in the hill at Shark Stadium. I can guarantee you that. Mm-hmm. And I personally saw him doing laps of the stadium looking for things to photograph and I didn't realize that at the time, but I realized who it was. And this isn't getting personal. I'm just saying, like, people call me the Sharks homer and that kind of stuff, and I don't really care. Like, half of it's true, half is not true. But I can't be quiet when I see garbage like that. Again, a lot of what was written in both articles was factual. But don't tell me in 2025, with so much going on in the world, good, bad, and indifferent, that's what you're going to focus on the wettest day of the year. You're going to come to our stadium and do a piece on that, and then you're going to double down a week or two later. That's what's going to get you over the line. Like, come on, man. There's something else there. Huh?
It felt lazy to me. And again, I guarantee if we host a final, you can get the same articles. You're going to get the same people saying the Sharks shouldn't host finals. And you're going to get the NRL to come out and say, we've cleared it. Get over it.
I'm going to get over it right now. Let's talk about some of your favorite things, and that is lower grade action, to put it in simple terms. Now, all the teams are going pretty good. Let's talk about your beloved Jets. How do you think the Newtown Shark Jets are going currently?
So they're locked in to play an elimination final next week, regardless of how the result goes this week against Manly. Look, at full flight, Newtown are the second best team in the competition. The Warriors are undisputedly number one. They've lost 2 games all year. Unfortunately, the disruption to first grade is killing Newtown, combined with the fact that we played at the same time or on the same day as Newtown Cronulla, and you've got to carry an 18th and 19th man who both should have played for Newtown. You just can't do that. Then you've got Flegg that are doing the same, and players are unavailable there, and you've got to move them up to New South Wales Cup. So it's messing up both. I think if Newtown can get close to full strength in the finals, I think they can go to a grand final, and who knows from there. Losing, like, they're without Burns, Harrotti, Atkinson won't play. I don't know if Stone Street, they will argue that he would have played more games if he wasn't injured. They'll get that one. But there are a lot of players who won't be available come finals. But I'm confident that once we get there, we can win a game or two. But it wouldn't shock me if we go out in week 1, as much as it'll hurt me and I'll be publicly crying about it. It's been a good season considering everything that could go wrong has.
Now, I don't want to start rumors, but I saw your boy Stone Street today and he had a slight limp.
Mate, he's too fast. His body can't keep up with him.
Tell me about how you think our Flegg team is going. Also finals bound, I hope.
Yes, so they're locked in. They can finish second. They can finish 5th. Now, it's a top 5. 2 play 3 in the first round for a shot at 1. So you want to finish second or third. Penrith are second, I believe. They play Canberra. They're going to be missing all their stars because they're playing New South Wales Cup. We're playing a very winnable game against Manly. If we win, we can go second. Now, you don't host finals in the lower grades. You just play at Leichhardt, Campbelltown, whatever. I won't be Shark Park because, But they're locked in as well. I want the second bite of the cherry because Flegg is an absolute coin toss on any given day. because you don't know if Taj Ford's going to be playing. You don't know if Pollard's going to be playing, Fartilli. Win this weekend, get a second bite, and yeah, we can go deep. Again, the Storm are minor premiers and so much better than everyone else. They've touched us up twice. It's going to be, if we can make 2 grand finals, mate, it's very, very doable. Flegg will definitely be there in week 2. Newtown should be there in week 2.
All right, before we go any further, let me do a live read for our friends at the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking. And they have an awesome restaurant there called The Galley. Beautiful food, pretty affordable prices. If that's not your go, Dan, you can just go there for a drink. If you don't drink, they have soft drinks, they have water, they have juices. It's a great place to go. Beautiful water views and very friendly, chilled place for people of all demographics, all ages. Get in touch with them, 9523-9300. They've got a website, rmycph.com.au. There are lots of sports screens for the footy, whatever sport you like. They do show all the games, though, and it's a good place to watch the Sharkies play. And that is our friends at the Royal Motor Yacht Club. And while I'm giving out love, let's go to our man, Jason Hawes at Crips and Crips Real Estate. He's been in the business for around 25 years in the local area, that being Sutherland Shire. However, he can help you no matter where you live. Drop him a line, 0410 417 450. Jason Hawes, Crips and Crips Real Estate. Tell him that I sent you personally, and he'd love to hear from you. Jason Hawes has a big interest in the NRLW. I can't disclose why because I'll get in trouble, but let's just say, I'm just going to say it. Someone close to him, I reckon in a couple of years, might be playing for them. How about that? I went out there on a limb. Let us never speak of it again if I get in trouble. The NRLW, some of our favorite things, you and I, Dan, we love talking about NRLW, and now's our chance to do it. The Sharkies are on the comeback. They are sitting, I believe, in 4th place, which is incredible considering where they were a few weeks ago. They are now 5-3, so they've turned it around, even though the injuries just come no matter what week it is. There's an injury. It's quite bizarre. Really serious injuries too, just week on week on week. But then we see Rhiannon Byers rising from the dead and playing a great game last week, which was fantastic. And hopefully, she's been named again, so she's ready to rock. Our personal favorite, well, we've got a million personal favorites, but Jada Taylor is back. She looked awesome in her time off the bench, and now she's been named at fullback, and that's just incredible. So if you're not behind this team, Cronulla Sharks NRLW, now's the time to get behind them because they're starting to fire. Emma Veron must be one of the form players of the comp, and she'll be playing 5'8" this week. But tell us about the NRLW so far for you, Dan.
Yeah, well, we started well under what I thought we would, losing to the Eels and the Cowboys. But as players have started coming back and players are starting to find their roles, feeling good about the past few weeks. Pretty comfortable win in New Zealand. Thought Harada Butler from the Shark kept the Kiwi girls in the game. Just felt like Cronulla had a little bit too much talent. Although Georgia Hannay prior to this week had been a little bit disappointing. But at 9, she was my man, or lady of the match, sorry. Like just superstar performance at 9.
And that allowed Brooke Anderson to go back to lock. Now, she was fine at number 9, fine. But she was one of our best players on the weekend at lock.
100%. We need her in the middle. She just folded people. She got ragdolled by Harada Butler and then got up and smashed Harada Butler in the next one. And you see them laugh and high five because they're former teammates. Penatani Gray, I think, has been absolutely incredible. We've missed Anessa Biddle, but Gracie Lou Weeks has been great. Steph Faulkner has just been a monster. Tucker Patolo, another one that I didn't know in the preseason.
Surely Steph's going to be Rookie of the Year, right?
Yeah, there's one other that Terry mentioned who's escaped my mind, but Faulkner should get it. It'll probably be a Rooster. But, mate, I came into the season thinking we were the third best team. I'm still very confident that we are.
Sure.
We're playing 3.5 this weekend. Us and Newcastle are the best bets to beat the big two. I can't see anyone getting near the big two, full disclosure. But with Caitlin Johnson-Green coming back, now I thought she was a little underdone and not having to go because people forget. It's not like she just missed 7 weeks through pregnancy. She had an ACL. She missed last season.
I think she's got a good reason to be underdone.
Yeah. This woman is superwoman, like to come back so quick. And come finals time, she's going to be somewhere near And you're not going to see her best this year. It's going to be next year. And trust me, somewhere near her best is frightening. Ellie Johnson's the best prop in the competition. Anyone can fight me. I don't care. I love her. I just think 1-17, these girls just keep turning up despite ridiculous injury tolls. I think we beat the Knights this week. I think we beat the Dogs, and I don't care what happens against the Roosters. In the finals, anything can happen.
I mean, people know I've been doing the weekly podcast with the NRLW players, and it's been fascinating to have that time with them every week. But what I will tell you is everything you see in the videos and hear in their press is completely true. Like, they are one team. Now, I tell you that the men's team's really happy and they're all mates, and it's true. They are. Like, I saw them today. They're all in love with each other, and it's a great brotherhood. You need to amp that up by 100 when it comes to the NRLW Sharks team. It is I don't want to say sisterhood. It's a bit demeaning. It is a gang of 20, 25 people who just rely on each other. Some of them are 18, some of them are 29, and they all just fall together. And it's so good to see the sacrifices they make, whether it be family, employment, the whole thing. And then you go watch them play in the 70 minutes of football, the body's on the line, next player up, and they're still winning games. Like, it's really inspiring to see. And I do think what you just said about the finals, I've been thinking about it for a few weeks. If this team can say we have this team we're going in this week with now, or better, if a couple come back, like Biddle or whoever, or Dodd, if it's a grand final, she might be a chance. I think we're at very good chance of doing something special. We saw us knock over Brisbane last year in the semi-final. We should have won the grand final. We know that. There is a lot of hope. Now, it was a rocky start. We know that. We probably should be 2 wins up from where we are, but it may not matter in the end. But I'm telling you, if you're not watching this group, watch them this weekend and keep following them, because there's some amazing players. That back row of Holmes, Byers, and Anderson, that is ridiculous.
It's exciting, isn't it? But I didn't think Byers would play again this season. And when she got named the other day, I was like, oh, great, we're naming players that can barely walk. And then she runs out on Sunday, and I was like, never doubting this woman again.
And also, go, if you can't find the time to watch the full replay, go watch the minis or whatever, and watch Jada Taylor chime into the back line, watch her do some hit-ups. And we're talking about a person who has played very minimal football over the last couple of years. We're talking about a person who is only slight herself, tough as nails. Watch her just throw herself into it without any hesitation, I'm sure there were nerves, but she just chimed in and she made a difference on the weekend. So Tony Herman's a fascinating coach to me. He's a guy who, I don't want to say that he's a guy who doesn't put wins first, because he does. Like, I promise you, he puts wins first. And you've seen that with like someone like Jacinta Carter, who you and I love and respect, who's 18th woman.
Yeah.
But also, he's a coach that really cares about his players in a way that I don't see in a lot of other teams that I follow. And the players talk about him, and he's such a caring individual. And when you meet him and when you talk to him, you get that from him, just his warmth and knowledge of the game. But he's almost like a people person first, but he still has that competitive edge where I've seen him talk to players and say, hey, it wasn't good enough. Or I've seen him cut people on game day because there's someone else who he thinks is better. So he's got that competitive edge, but he's also just a genuine soul. And I think that the players buy into it and they want to play for him. And you don't hear that about every coach in any game, and that's fine. But there's something special there. And I would be very surprised if they don't do something special in the next couple of years with the squad they have. So double header this week.
I forgot Kiliaratu, I believe, the halfback. I get lost in my nicknames. I've been calling her Cthulhu for 6 weeks. So I've forgotten. But she stepped in a way that I thought we'd miss Taylor Preston's kicking game. We've missed the conversions. But I had King, like she was going to play 7, but you can't drop Kiliaratu. Like she's again, I probably butchered the last name. Apologies. But Yeah, I think everyone we've recruited has done extremely well.
I think long term she's a step up from Preston, and Preston's someone who's done it all. So I have no issues there at all. Doubleheader this week. If you can get down there, 11:50 kickoff at Shark Stadium. If you can't be there, it'll be on your KO, your Fox, your Channel 9 affiliated programs. Hey, Dan, while I got you for a little bit before we get going, let's go through a bit of mail. Won't hit it all, but we'll get through a bit of mail.
Your ability.
And the first one is from Shane. Shane says, keen to hear your thoughts on the centres going forward. We lock in KL. Ramian, though, is he a certain starter? I'm personally not a huge fan. I'd like to see CV, the resume as he calls him, put on another 6 or 7 kilos before we make a decision on him. But I'm interested in Michael Gabriel. I'd love to hear your thoughts and always love the show. That's from Shane. So I'm glad you're on here because you can help us out with this, Dan. KL is obviously a lock in place for the next
10 years.
7 years, 10 years. Jesse Ramian, he's off contract end of next year, as in, actually, I don't know, as in when they can talk to him or not, but he's off contract at some point soonish. He's, I think, close to 30. Had a mammoth season last year. This year, not so much. I feel like he can get more money elsewhere, and I feel like that might be what happens. Now they might go, oh, you can stick around for a chunk of change, and he might go, yeah, beauty, and that's that, and then he fights it out with whoever. But I feel like we've seen this kind of thing before, and he, in a year or two, he might move on, but I think he'll be here early next year. Like, I think he'll start with the club. Now, you're a huge fan of the young fellas coming through. We know that through your work on Fins Up. Do you think the two, I'm going to leave Nikora Williams out of this. Do you think the two that we've mentioned are ready to go next year? Like one?
Well, I think Hirotti's got the spot for the rest of the season.
Sure.
I love Chris Viola. Huge fan. I've been calling for his inclusion. I thought he should have played last year at the back end. I'd feel better naming him if he had those 5 or 6 games under his belt. I think Jesse Ramian's going to sign with Perth on November 1. That's just my personal feeling. I don't have any inner thing. That's just what I feel.
Yeah.
Viola Gabriel's the far better prospect. Viola's ahead now. So it's sitting on the fence. But I named a 2027 team. Ero was on the left. Michael Gabriel was on the right. Gabriel's my guy, but not yet.
Why do you think CV's better right now?
I just feel like, okay, so you get these highlights from Michael Gabriel that you're not going to find anywhere else in the competition. He scored some tries that are ridiculous. Then you'll have Gabriel just run up out of nowhere and you're thinking, why'd you do that? I know Viola got sent off for a moment of madness. The fact that the referees pretty much said, we messed that one up, I think pushes that down a little bit. Don't believe he was suspended. I think that was an error, with the greatest respects. I think Viola, if you will put him this weekend, I'm pretty confident he gets the job done. I liked what I saw. I didn't like the final minutes, full disclosure, when I think it was Kennedy had a run and broke the line and Viola didn't chase when he would have scored under the sticks. That hurt him in my view, because a player who had to do everything to get first grade, you want to do everything, and I didn't see that there. I think that's hurt him in my eyes. But I'd be confident naming him. Yeah, he's a little bit small. Gabriel's not a tall guy,
no,
but he's built like Sifa Talakai. Like they put a photo of him the other day, and I had someone mention Gabriel's too small. We need to stick with Talakai. I sent him the photo. I said, well, they're the same height and they're the same weight. So your move?
Yeah.
I faster. Too.
I've met him to say hello to him and stood like face to face, and he's a stocky little thing. Like he's
a brick.
Got the tree trunk legs and
monster. And the fact that Bulldogs fans are still blowing up about letting him go for Connor Tracy, who's been very good for them, says it all. So, yeah, if you're telling me long term, it's Michael Gabriel for sure. I love what I've seen from Hirotti, though. You're not displacing him at the moment.
Yeah, he wasn't part of Shane's call, but no, not at all. And particularly if he's going to re-sign And you would imagine he's not going to break the bank. And if that's your first grade center, like that would be, from a Moneyball point of view, unbelievable. I can tell you that he's close to next man up, dude. So I'm not saying that he's ahead of CV, but it's a flip of the coin. So
It's exciting.
it does depend on his health, and I think they do like guys to have a chunk of games in a row and then go, okay, now it's your time. They don't really like this 2 weeks out, 1 week on to be picked in NRL. So that's just from the coaching point of view. But yeah, as far as my opinion, I mean, I want to see what Hirotti's going to do. I do believe in him. I'm not going to tell you that he's the next Mark McGaw, but I like what he does. And I like the way he plays the game. He's still only young. He's like 25, 26. It's ridiculous. So, that's only 4 years old in the other two blokes. So I will say this though, there's and as I said, I left Nicoria Williams out of the group, and he might be the best out of all of them, but he's a little bit away. So it's a healthy situation. And I do think that when you have a Ramian who respectfully will be getting on and probably still wanting a bunch of money, that's where the conversation gets pretty interesting. But yeah, thank you for that, Shane. Appreciate you. Next up, we have Reese, and Reese was asking a question about the article in the paper, and we've sort of covered that, so I might leave that there. Although he does say the point about all the other teams getting grants for their center of excellences and for their suburban grounds, and we're the only ones that haven't at this point. So he does touch on that. Is there anything else you want to say about that, Dan, as far as us not getting any real coin of late?
Yeah, there's two things. One, we own the stadium, and two, it's a safe Liberal seat. The second it becomes a non-safe Liberal seat, you'll start seeing money thrown. It's as simple as that. It's political.
All right, that's from Reese. So appreciate that. Go back and have a listen, Reese, in case you missed the start of the show. I don't know why you would, but in case you did. And Phil has been in touch. Phil is Phil the Fiery from Willowvale in Queensland, and I had the pleasure of sitting with him and his wife at Sharks Stadium. He and his wife were down here for, you know what? I want to say for the ill-fated Gold Coast match. I think that's right. It was a very rainy day. Maybe it was the Cowboys game. Sorry, I take it back. Take all that back. I'm not going to edit that. The Cowboys game, which I believe the newspaper article was written about. Anyway, Phil sat with us, and he just want to say thanks for that. And your friend Kieran was with us as well. Kieran was part of the hosting entertainment. He says, I like the makeup of the week, this week of the forward pack. I think it offers more in attack. We are finals bound. Great time of the year. Up. That's from Phil the Fiery. And if we look at our forward pack, Dan, it is pretty different this week. I remember that. Let's have a look.
I like it, Sam.
Starting, we have Fanua Blake, Blake Brayley, Toby Rudolph, Billy Burns, Teague Wilton, Jesse Colquhoun. And then the bench is Hohepa, Talakai, Tall Tom, and BHU back from his couple of weeks off. So it's a almost monster bench and a pretty good forward pack, good size about them. Be interested to see how long Toby goes for before he goes off. We know that he's been a super sub. He started recently, has been good. So see how that goes. But yeah, what do you make of the forward pack?
I love it. I think Billy Burns is going to be the most unlucky bloke in the world when Nicoria comes back for finals and he misses out. I love it. I think Toby or Tom starting, much of a muchness. I would go Tom because of what you said, super sub. But Toby was very, very good against the Titans, so he's earned a crack. Look, I love Hohepa Puru. I'm a huge fan. I think that he adds – I think the fact that Colquhoun's starting at 13 is going to see us change up a little bit, his ball playing. I think Talakai is going to be just that off the bench. I think they play 40 minutes each or roughly, and that excites me. I think Puru's there because he's way more clever than anyone not named Jess Colquhoun in that forward pack with the ball, and that's not a crack. That's just what he does for Newtown. I was glad to see him named over, say, Dan Atkinson. Talakai being on the bench, he can go play centres if you need. He can play in the middle. He can play wide. He can push players out. So I think it's the forward pack I'd pick. I think Oregon Kaufusi gets back in and he starts. I think Hohepa falls off. I think Toby comes back, and I think that's the best we can do, mate. And I'm very happy with that.
And just to clarify, do you think Puru's going to play 40, or do you think Talakai is going to play 40?
Talakai, sorry. I think Puru's going to do that 7 to 10 to 12 minute thing. I hope he gets a little bit more. But it tends to be a 3-man bench and then a player who plays 10 minutes. So
okay. So what else have we got here? Let's have a quick look. Joanne said, great to see KL back, and we all agree with that. And there's a bunch of nice things people have posted and replied to. We won't get to all that kind of thing. Now, I like this one. This one's from Drew. Drew said, oh, you'll love this, actually. This is beautiful. Drew said, full disclosure, in brackets, to steal a line from Dan Nichols. And so you've said that about 3 times on this episode, and I was like, it's ringing some bell. I don't know why. That's why it rings a bell. So there you go. Full disclosure, to steal a line from Dan Nichols. I've recently finished watching Friday Night Lights TV show, all of it based on your passionate reviews and references. At first, I had a degree of guilt, like the kids had busted me watching Home and Away, but it grew on me and I ended up watching it all. At first, I questioned your passion for the show, the cheesiness and soppy stories, but given some patience, I came to appreciate the genius of the show as I did with The Wire, show of similar vintage and quality of character. So thanks for that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The missus, his lady, even became a fan. So that's from Drew. I don't know about comparing it to Home and Away and soppiness, but I do love that you loved it, because I do try and get, it's one of those shows. I've got a few where I try and get people, if they haven't watched it, to watch it. And so I thought I would mention that from Drew. Cool. And I think that might be the mail for now. If we've left anything out, we will get to it, I promise. And before we let Dan go, let's talk about a couple of things. So Blake Brayley as captain, we kind of covered that before. We can pass on that one. Let's talk about the Knights game, and we will do more of a preview as the week goes on. But while you are here, Dan Nichols, tell us about the Knights game, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what we're going to see, how we go about it, whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I like the side we named. I think it's one swap from what I would name. Newcastle have named a team.
Yeah.
Braden Best is their best player by a long, long way. And there's probably 3 or 4 players that if you offer me $100, I couldn't pick them out of a lineup. So Cronulla is going to be a big crowd Sunday afternoon. Weather's supposed to be beautiful. Cronulla have got it all to play for. This just screams Newcastle winning Golden Point, doesn't it? But I think we're better than that.
Yeah.
I think we need to be better than that. I think we need to send a message. This isn't the game where we can win by 6 and go, well, it is what it is. I love KL Hero on, I think he's marking up Schiller, I believe, on that edge. I love Ronaldo on young Fletcher Hunt.
Yeah.
I expect plenty to go that way. Dom Young worries me because he seems to have made a career out of playing well against Cronulla. Even that game when we beat him up there like 50-30, I think he scored 3 or 2 of the greatest tries you'll ever see length of the field. So there's a bit of a worry there, and there's a bit of I think if Katoa jumped on Katoa's shoulders, I still think Young would beat him in the air. So it's not like I'm expecting to walk in and do what we did to the Titans and flog them. They're going to have a new coach. He's going to know a fair bit about Cronulla. They're going to want to win. I don't think that's enough, with all due respect, to put them in the conversation. It's a game I'm looking forward to because we've had a bye. We're almost at full strength. This is what we're going to see coming into the finals. I want to see an easy win. I want to see a big win. I don't know if we'll get that, but I'm pretty confident this weekend, mate. And I think it starts here, put it that way. I think the Titans game, we turned a corner. Not that the Titans are great by any means. I just think Nico was flying. We saw Ronaldo chirping. Colhoun's in there now. I'm pretty positive, which again just screams disappointment.
Now, I want to throw out the whole new coach, new team winning every first game thing because it's not actually factual. If I look at the last 4, it's gone win-loss, win-loss. So that's 50%, right? So that's Trent Barrett at Para, Ben Hornby at Souths, someone called Jim Lenahan at Gold Coast, Ryan Carr at St. George Illawarra.
Oh, geez, isn't it?
Then there's a couple of wins and there's 3 losses. So it's very 50-50 or very week to week, up and down. Don't get this thing that they've got a new coach, they're going to win for the coach. It's not actually factually correct. I don't have the stats on me, but usually the second week is when they win.
Oh, well, that was for me.
You and I have already spoken about this. We think that new coach, Wayne Bennett coach, whoever it is, with the team they've named and the team we've named, we should win this game. So I want people to know if we lose this game, it's not because they've got a new coach, it's because we haven't played very well. That's the only reason we're going to lose this game. Now, looking at their team, Dane Gagai at fullback, still a handy player, but I love the fact they've named an older player at fullback. You know, that's someone you can kick around the park a little bit. You've mentioned Hunt and Young on the wings, Schiller and Best in the centers. I do think we have an advantage here in the halves. Jacob Arthur and Jack Cogger, look, they both can play, but you wouldn't say they're lights out halves. They're backups, you know? So they're QB2s. So I like that. Now the forward pack's okay. You know, Asai Feedy, Leo Thompson, Pierce Paul, Frizzle, Frizzell. Why do I call him Frizzle? I'm not going to podcast anymore. One of my favorite players, I called him Frizzle. I know why I did it. Actually, it's a bit of an in-joke. Anyway, their bench, Jaden Brayley, Matt Croker, Thomas Kant, and Elijah Lamona. Not bad, you know, some physical guys there. Yeah. And of interest in jumper number 22, Lockie Crouch.
Yeah, he was a good serviceman for Newtown and Cronulla. Hope he gets a run, to be honest. Look, mate, if we're sitting here next week discussing a loss, something's going to have to go very, very wrong.
Yeah, and then I think that you can talk about should we be playing finals, etc. That's how much I really don't rate them. And I know people are going to say I'm jinxing it. Well, guess what? Me talking about them is not going to change the game. And I'm not being disrespectful. I've already named a bunch of good players. But mind you, to be fair, I said the same thing almost a year ago, and we went to Golden Point and Dan Atkinson got us out of that. So I'm not suggesting they can't play, they can't pull it together, they can't show some Newcastle heart. I get it. But I think we'll be too good. I really do. We've won 5 out of 6 games. We had a hiccup against the Dragons, more than a hiccup to be fair. But I like our chances this week, and I think it builds to the Canterbury game. And as we've said, we're not sure what we're going to get in that one. Yeah. I mean, is there a chance that Fitzy rests players in that game? Like, is that something we haven't even considered that? If we've got nothing to play for, or if we want to, I don't know, finish where we want to finish, if it's tactical, I mean, I don't even consider that to this moment. I've blown my own mind.
Well, we had the bye last week. I don't think you'll see players rested. We got the perfect bye. It's a couple of weeks out, so you can get you back in. So that's a good thing.
You're right.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't like talking down about any team because any team can beat you. No.
Yes.
There's a reason they're like $6 in the betting. Like, they shouldn't win this game. Cronulla should win. There's just too much talent across the park. 2 players, Bradman Best and Leo Thompson, would make the Cronulla outfit.
Yeah, I mean, I could find maybe a few more, but I see your point. I do. I see your point. And I think that we're going to get the job done. And I think that, you know, from then on, it's the Canterbury game becomes like a finals match. This isn't like a finals match. This is a game before a finals match where you want to fine tune things and you want to get through it, dare I say, injury free, which causes a whole other kind of mindset. But I just think you turn up, play hard, you'll win the game. There won't be any issues. If you don't turn up, well, you might go to Golden Point and you might need Dan Atkinson to come on and get a field goal for you. But I think we're going to be okay. That's what I think. Hey,
I want to keep them to nothing.
So historically, last 10 games, last 5 games, last 8 games, we're on what are we on? Like a 7 or 8 game win streak. We'll tell you this stuff later in the week, but against the Knights, we've won a whole bunch of games. And in that time, I think it's 7 or 8 games. We've kept them to 18 points or less. And in our winning streak, and then include the Dragons' loss, we haven't conceded more than 22 points for 6 weeks. Now, you want to get it down to 18 or less, but that's still not bad. And a couple of those tries against the Titans were turnovers, intercepts. You can live with some of those from a stylistic point of view. But I'm with you. I think that if we concede more than 18 against the Knights, I'd be working on that defense the week after, But I think that, if they jag a couple, I think they might be lucky. They really battle. I looked at their stats in depth, and we'll talk about that later in the week, but they do battle pretty hard. So I don't want to sell it too hard. I can't stress enough we need to turn up and play our best footy. And I just believe that's what's going to happen. It has to happen, basically. Dan, before we go, do you want to give some love to your art, your platforms, your whatever other niche word you want to use for what you do during the week, please?
Oh, mate, thank you so much. We just released a Fins Up episode, Fins Up podcast. You've probably heard us before, yay or nay. They're more yays than nays lately, so thank you for that. But awesome. That's out. I've got Rugby League Outlaws on YouTube. We just finished doing the Knock On podcast on Zero Tackle YouTube again. That's not Sharks related. It's NRL related. So if you look for something a little bit different, please tune in, like, subscribe, upside that down on Twitter. Look, you can't avoid me, so stop trying. That's all I can say.
Oh, we've tried, and all that's happened is you end up being a co-host. So there you go.
Spot on.
Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. We'll see you very soon, I'm sure. And I'm going to check out Fins Up. I've got a bit of a ritual. It's usually a Wednesday morning for me with a cup of coffee, but I might crack it out later tonight. We'll see what happens. But thanks to everyone for tuning in, especially Dan for helping make this show great tonight. And like Dan said, subscribe, like, share, all that kind of stuff. And we will talk to you soon. We've got some more episodes planned, so don't go anywhere, and we'll see you down at the ground, that's for sure. This is SharkCast Pod. That's been Dan Nichols. I am Sam Shinazzi. I'm not going to do that thing with the fin on my head. That's his shtick. Up, Cronulla. I said shtick. Oh, that's as bad as I get. Let's go, Dan. Let's go get that Knights win. Up.